Hello guys, in this video we're gonna talk about different kind of Linux commands that can be good for you while performing your pen test. So the very first list of commands is network commands I'm gonna talk about. Then I'm gonna talk about system information commands. Then I'm gonna talk about some other different commands such as user management, and maybe also something about decompression commands. I see a lot of people having trouble with that, including myself, remembering these kind of commands, but nevertheless this video is going to be quite long, so let me just start right away and talk about different commands we will cover in this video. The very first command is called Linux network commands. It is a collection of commands that's gonna show different kind of things for you during your network enumeration. So if you want to show your Linux network ports, which processes and stuff like that, so see what's going on, then you could run this command right here. Now we have nothing going on right now. We could I guess in theory try something with netcat, and just run it and see if it's gonna pop up. And then you can see that you have a netcat on TCP listening on port 4000, which is what I wrote right there. And you can see the PID, so if you want to go ahead and write kill, for example, 1886, you could see the command over here is being killed totally, or the process, so that is a way to use it. You can also go ahead and watch the real-time established TCP and UDP open ports. Let's go ahead and just open the 4000 one time, and then you can see it's gonna pop up. This is very useful if you want to have a planned overview of the actual processes you have running. Then you can just say, right, okay, so let me just have a direct surveillance running live, and then you can have an overview of what's going on. So if you are doing something like, let's say you're playing King of the Hill on Try Hack Me, you can go ahead and run this command in a Linux window. If you are running Tmux, for example, or Terminator, then you can have this running to see what's going on. Let me just shut it down for you. You can also go ahead and just use this command to show established connections already, which is a bit more, as you can see that, on my private IP address to this particular port, I have a direct connection to, looks like some Amazon AVS, and some Google stuff and CloudFront and stuff like that. So, and also show you I have a listener here, still the same listener in this cat. So there's a great variety of different commands you can execute to see different kind of things. Now, the next one I want to show, let me see if I have something interesting here. You could go ahead and, if you really want to, let's say, if you want to, for example, block access to a particular, host on a particular machine, if that is something you wish to do, you could try something like this, TCP kill. Just tumble upon it, I have a quite big list of commands looking through right now, and it's just, it's I don't really use this, but if you want to have a funky time in some way, this is something you could use directly. Okay, so going away from network commands, going straight over to system information commands, we can go ahead and check out the very first one called Who Am I? And I need to spell it correctly. First of all, I guess all you know it's just going to show the username you're logged in with, the Kali user, which is also visible right there. And the all better one to execute is ID, which is going to show different kind of groups for the logged in user. You want to call it Kaylee in this particular case, so you can see different kind of groups I'm a member of. And if you see something like, let's say, root, in one of these groups, you are golden, and most cases you can use that to do some privilege escalation. Let's go ahead and type last, then you can see the last logged user in the system. And yeah, I guess you can use this to see if someone logged on a particular user that you would not like them to to have. I don't know if I think I created a user called test at some point. Yes, then we can do last one time, and maybe we can just say grep test. That's possible. Do we have anything? No. Then exit, and then sudo last. Let's see if we can find it. I wouldn't be surprised if we cannot. So yeah. Alright, so it's just gonna show the last one. Don't really sure why it's not showing up the test one, but it's just an example of the command last show, which is the last logged user. Also, if you want to see the amount of mount drives, you can go ahead and type mount. And then you see different kind of drives that is mounted you can access. So if you in some way have access to other mounts, or just want to see which kind of mounts is mounted to the system, this is a particular way to check it out. It's quite nice. I would like to say that. If you want to see for some reason the disk usage in some human readable output, you can go ahead and type df tag h for human readable, and you see different kind of drives, and this is the one that you're probably gonna look at the most, the def SDA1. Not that it matters too much, but you can see that I have available 32 gigabytes. So if let's say that you do run this a few times, and then it is now 33 gigabytes. You run it one more time and it's 35 gigabytes. It might show that something is installed in the disk, filling up with data pretty fast. It could be some malware at some point. You can also go ahead and execute this command here. I'll just copy paste it so you can see what's going on, and it will list different kind of users on the system. The getEnt, passwd. You can also just cat it out the passwd file, but there are different ways to do it, and this is definitely one of them. As I also talked about, I have a user called test. Let me just find it. There we go. And the user is just a standard user, nothing crazy going on. Another interesting command I would like to talk about is the word called strings. So let's just find something that I can do strings on. Let me do strings on the one called whatever.zip, so I'm just clear. Now the string command is taking its time to show all the readable text files and strings you can find inside a file. Now it doesn't really have to be a particular type of file. It can be, well, in most cases when you're doing pen testing, you're going to do that on a binary file. And if you're going to do that on a binary file, you might sometimes find that the binary file is pointing to some sort of directory, or maybe doing a relative call to another binary file that you can exploit by rewriting the path and so on. But that's another thing. But strings is very important to use. Also, sometimes you want to check out the kernel version. It's going to be the uname tag AR. Let's see what kind of Linux version you're using. Now, sometimes that can be interesting for you if you want to find out this particular version of Linux Kaylee have a particular, exploit, and sometimes, I think it was called Dirty Cow. It's an old kernel exploit, but sometimes there are kernel exploits that can give you root or something, or other different kind of ways to exploit the system. So definitely stick to that. Now, sometimes you would like to rewrite the path. I want to say directly right now that if you can do that, please make sure that you add on the $path in front of it. You can also go ahead and do a colon there and do $path afterwards. It's kind of up to you which kind of way you would like to direct the traffic, because whenever you add a new path to the path variable, it's going to be put, you would like to have it in the end. So I would definitely suggest you move the $path to after new path, because if you're doing something like path exploitation in some way of a binary file calling another binary file in relative path and so on, then I would definitely suggest you whenever you call that binary file, it's going to be the first path Linux is gonna check it out in. Alright, so another command that can be quite useful sometimes is to call the history command, which will execute a, the list of all different kind of commands you executed in this particular terminal. And, sometimes you can, you can even go ahead and just do a grep on it and say, did I do a SSH at some point? And you can get a different kind of SSH commands when you did it, or SSH to John, whatever you're gonna get. Then you can find your old commands. As you can see here, I did a lot of SSH stuff. Most of this is to try hack me. I also have something for TCM security, which I think they release some free stuff that I tried out and see what it's all about. But it's a very useful command, this history command, and you can see what's going on. Alright, so I guess that's it for the system information commands. Now, if you're running some sort of, yum or stuff like that, I definitely suggest you go ahead and check it out, because there are different kind of things you can do with yum and other kind of dependency managers. But just to keep it clear, if you're on a Debian Ubuntu or Deb-based distribution, you should be able to run this command right here and get the actual Debian version, which is called caddy rolling. And if you want to get the actual version number of Ubuntu, you can run this command here. This is also gonna find different kind of interesting variables like the ID and the name, the version, stuff like that. So yes, so also if you want to list all the installed packages, I'm kind of afraid doing that, but let's just do it. It's called dpkg tag L, and then you're gonna see all the different kind of stuff you've installed. Sometimes it can be a good idea to just have an overview of what you have installed on the actual machine, because then you can maybe verify another way of trying to exploit the system. You can press space to go on, and I'm just gonna go out of all this and yeah. Alright, so another very interesting useful command is you're gonna do some Linux user management. There's a possibility you can just go ahead and write add user and then the user name. You can also go ahead and try and reset a password for a particular user using the passw. You can also go ahead and try and delete a user, which is going to be this command right there. And depending on what you're trying to do in a pen testing situation, it could be a game, it could be just for fun, or you maybe want to do management, or you're finding some guy added some user, then you can delete it that way, or maybe try and exploit if that is what you want to do. Different kind of decompression commands in this particular case. If you have a zip file for some particular reasons, it's a difficult one. You can go ahead and type unzip under the archive zip file name. If it's something you would like to search for, let's say like to search for something inside a zip file, you can do zip grep. I don't know if I have that installed at the moment. I do. So we could probably try that and just, you know, say, why not? And we do have a zip file right here. I guess we just do, where was it again? It's called whatever. So let me just, so we can take like beautiful copy paste it. Let me try one time. So it's gonna be the whatever one here, and it will check out that, you know, what's going on and show that cannot find, and show different kind of, you know, what's inside of it. I have no idea what's inside of it, but we can maybe just try anything. It's a file. It's a Python file. It's called 407. I think this one is search exploit. I think it was a tag M or something like that. 016. No, yeah, it's an arbitrary file upload. This is the one. Yeah, I remember it now. So that is a really good command. If you want to extract a tar file, you know, so many people, I don't know, I forget about it, but it's just tar xf and then the tar file, which is going to be quite easy. If you want to extract a tar gzip file, that's going to be the command right there. And, you know, if you want to extract a gzip file, a gz file, that's going to be the command right there. I think that is the most important, you know, commands for compression right now. If you want to compress something directly, let's say there are other commands you can run through. I suggest you go ahead and Google them. They're quite easy. Other interesting commands for Linux file system is, let me just find something interesting here. Let's assume in some way that you want to compare some files. It could be like this. Then diff and the name of file 1 and file 2. Let me just file something here. So cbc, php, and cbc pi, and you will get the actual difference outputted in a way so you can see what's going on in different colors and stuff like that. So that's quite nice. Alright, so sometimes it's very important for you to be able to check what file it is, so you can write, for example, file, and then you will check the actual file name and see what is this particular file about. So there are different ways you can change the file. I think it's called Hex Editor. So yeah, let's touch a file and call it let's just call it hello.txt, and inside hello.txt we're gonna put hello, this is a test, and we will just save it like that and do file hello.txt on it, and you can see it says ASCII.txt. Now if we go ahead and into like the Hex Editor to hello.txt, you can, and it's going to be a little difficult to see, but as you can see, the very first parts here, it's called hello. The else is called 6c. Now if you want to change this file, let's say you want to make this a JPEG file, you can go ahead and just go to and write something like, oh, I mean burp, let me just take that away. So the file magic numbers, and go ahead and just find the one for JPEG, so FFD8FFE0, so FFD8FFE0, basically just write that in the start of it and save the file, go out and do another file of it, and now all of a sudden this is a JPEG image. But if you cut it out, you can see that it still contains, this is a, now the very first part of the file is now then, you know, some bytes, but you know, this is what file command will look for. and check whether this file is a JPEG or whatever file. Also commonly used for exploitation in upload scenarios and stuff like that. So when they're gonna cheat the operating system of the file, most useful in the uploads, and I forgot about it, but anyway, that's about it. Yeah, you all will notice that I did, like, I did a touch command, which is just gonna, create a file. It's gonna be empty. So whatever file name, right? And you're gonna create a file name that's empty without bytes. So sometimes you will get a limited shell whenever you connect to some sort of service, and I guess we could, how do we just write netcat connect to listener. So I never do that on netcat that much, but I guess we could do a so what if we're just interested in netcat, and let's say we're connecting to ourselves. Can we do that way? Yes. Then if I go ahead and do something like commands, you can see it's just send data straight back and forth. This is just a very empty shell. It's got nothing going on. Now in some cases when you get these kind of shells, now I don't have access to Python through this shell, so I cannot, as you can see, it doesn't work for me, but it's just a way to show that if you have a limited shell, you can go ahead and execute the Python command like that. Also sometimes you can go ahead and try this command right there, I can do right now. It's ZSH, which is going to create a lot of trouble for you at some point, but you will learn it. Run bash if you want to be on the safe side. Yeah, other important stuff. Let me just create a directory and call it testing, and go into that. So, oops. Let's touch a file called test and clear. And now you can see that we have a file here. Now this particular file will be, you can see that we have read write, and the group can read and everyone else can read. But sometimes you really like to change that in some way. You could, for example, say that you want to change the access to it. So change mod, let's say 777 test, and you can do that again. Then you can see that everyone now have read-write access to it. You can also go ahead and just say I want 600, which is now only you that can read-write to it, and so on. Which are quite interesting, the commands, So I really suggest you go ahead and learn a bit about different kind of access rights to files, because that is gonna make it easier for you to understand which file you can access and not. I'm still going back to, if you have a shell in the box and you want to privesc, then you need to either, for example, find a way to execute a file with higher privileges so it can fetch or execute files or commands on the system, binary files of course, which is also programs, for you to gain higher, more privilege. Now I think this is going to be difficult to show, so I'm going to open the text editor and say, do you want to restore? Yes. So I'll just put this in here. Now many people they do ask about the different kind of codes. So 777, it is everything basically. 755 is owner has full access, another can execute the file. And you can basically read the other ones here, depending on how you would really like to have it. You can combine it, as you can see, a 4 is going to give read only. So you could say 444, going back to the Linux say just clear and say change mod 444 test, and you can see that now everyone can just read. That is a way for you to also combine the different, not going through every single combination, but just the most useful ones. So please try and pay attention to how they are combined. Let me see. There are so many different kind of, you know, directories and files that you would really like to try and, you know, get access to in order to perform some privilege escalation. A word to mention is the passwd file, which is in the etc, that one. Also, if you can get access to the shadow file, you are golden. If you can get access to the sudoers, you are even more golden. If you can get access to group, you're also really golden. There are so many different kind of, you know, directories. What I've also really liked to verify is that if you can do like a find command, let's say from anything type, I think it's called D for directory and then .ssh, in some way try and search for SSH directories, because then you can find, you know, SSH keys, which is gonna make you golden, or exactly. So I think for this particular video, it's getting quite long. I really hope that you know, watch all of it and learn some from it. You know, it's difficult to create a short video covering a lot of stuff. The video definitely was intended for one of you guys that tried to do some stuff before Linux. This is not a beginner video. This is more like advanced. You could say that you know stuff, but now you want to know a bit more, or you're gonna get a different perspective on things. You know, it was really fast, and I really hope you learned something. So just want to say have a really nice learning experience, and see you out there again.